Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We still have just a minute or two before we'll get started. We'll allow a few more people to join and we'll get going. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you, Dave. Thank you all for joining. I do see that it is 2 o'clock. I'm going to give it just a few more seconds to see if anyone else is going to be jumping on. Thank you for your patience. We'll get started shortly. All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and just get us started. And I am hearing some background. Is there somebody else on the phone?
Hi, Sheree, it's Sarah and Bill, and we'll just mute ourselves until you're ready for us.
All right, wonderful. So glad that you guys were able to find some Wi-Fi to get on. Great. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome again. Happy New Year, everybody. As we always do, we want to start with a little bit of a mission moment. So the image on the screen you see is actually use of a shelter kit in the Philippines that was following Typhoon Mangkhut. And the beneficiary, Melody, said that the temporary shelter allowed them safety and shelter. They used the shelter kit and some salvaged materials to protect them. Actually, after they built this, it did protect them from the smaller typhoon, Rosita, that struck a little bit later. She said that without the shelter kit, she didn't think that she would have been protected from that second event. So your efforts at work here, thank you for making that work possible. And that work is, as we say, preparing for the worst day ever, every single day. And we've posted this video on Facebook. We've sent this out in the link, or we will be sending it out this week. But really quickly, just want to show you 2018 in review. So thank you, ambassadors, for helping to make the work, the life-saving work of ShelterBox possible. So today, here's our agenda. We just went through the 2018 year in review. We're going to, of course, shout out our ambassadors and the work that you've recently been doing. share with you the Ambassador of the Month. We're going to have a special guest today, Frank Spears. We'll also have a very special guest, Alex Yulton, talking today about current operations and the Rotary District Challenge. We'll have a few reminders here from your ShelterBox USA staff team, and I'll be walking you through some navigation on the Ambassador portal. And then, of course, we cannot push enough the ShelterBox Ambassador Field Experience for SAFE. We'll briefly cover the current deployments if we still have time at the end of this call. So really quickly, I want to throw it back over to Sarah and Bill so we can share this great news.
Yes, so I'm really excited, team, to be able to, well, it seems weird to say welcome him to the team because Bill Tobin has been an outstanding longtime ambassador for this organization and also a longtime Rotarian. And so Bill has just recently gone from the volunteer side to the staff side. And what he's going to be helping us do is advance our partnership with Rotary here in the United States. And so Bill and I are actually together in San Diego right now at the International Assembly, which is where district governors come to be trained prior to starting their Rotary year on July 1st. And so Bill's going to be working with our team year-round to support those district governors, to provide resources to our ambassadors, and also just to help bring his knowledge of Rotary to what it is that we're doing with ShelterBox so we can advance our work. So a member of our Hall of Fame and very committed and dedicated ambassador, we're thrilled to have Bill here on the team.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and it's just wonderful to be a part of the staff here. I've been an admirer of the way the staff works here in the U.S. and the U.K. offices and how well we work together, and a great group of volunteers led by a great group of staff. So it's a pleasure to be a part of the staff now. And if I were to request anything from the ambassadors online right now, it would be contact information for district governor-elects, which will go into the district governorship July 1, and your district governor nominees, who will then take over the next year. And this is the time of year when the district governor nominee designee is also selected. So to get the next 3 years contact information for the district governorship in your districts and your surrounding districts would make my job of supporting you as ambassadors and getting the district governors involved and ecstatic and enthused for what it is we do at ShelterBox. That is what I need right out the gate, is as much contact information as you can muster.
Yep, and so Bill's email is btobin@shelterboxusa.org, or feel free to send it to me or to Cherie, and we'd be happy to pass it along to Bill. We also had some exciting news this morning. They announced the new Rotary theme for the 2019-2020 year, and it's Rotary Connecting the World. So obviously there are so many tie-ins to the work we do here at ShelterBox, and so we're excited to continue to enhance our partnership under that theme and President Mark Maloney's leadership. Okay, great. So Cherie, I can kick it back to you for one of my favorite parts, which is our ambassador shout outs, and we get to see all the awesome things our team has been up to.
Absolutely, thank you. And so glad you guys are able to be at International Assembly to represent ShelterBox there. So again, our favorite part's December. We're going to talk about your successes, and we want to congratulate our top 10 fundraisers of December. So we have Bill Tazuki and Henry Tur, who were able to represent ShelterBox at a district Dine and Dance event. And that fundraiser for ShelterBox ended up raising $15,945 right there towards the end of December. So I want to thank Bill and Henry for being present and representing ShelterBox there. But of course, we have others too. We have Rob, Bill, Kieran, Alan, Lewis, Steve, Lee, John, Mark, and anyone even not on this list here. You make the work of ShelterBox possible. I really can't say it enough. And despite the busyness of the holidays, this team raised over $200,000 in December alone. But when you add that to the other 11 months of the year, this team raised over $1.1 million for the ShelterBox mission. That's a lot of families that we've been able to serve because of your hard work. So thank you so much. And this would be possible without ambassadors who are out there sharing the ShelterBox story. And here we have Anthony Hansen, fairly new ambassador up in the Pacific Northwest. He attended the Kaiser Rotary Lunch and they presented him with a $5,000 gift. And he was just blown away with their generosity, and it really helped continue to ignite that fire for Shelterbox and the work of volunteering for Shelterbox. So Anthony, thank you for being present and accepting that check and stewarding these donors. We have Wayne, who he just really takes, you've heard me say it before, he takes Shelterbox everywhere and finds the most unique and creative ways to share the Shelterbox story. Here you see a special display and a presentation he did for a troop at the St. Francis Episcopal Church in Great Falls, Virginia. And we're just so grateful for Wayne's example to really step out of the box, you might say, when it comes to sharing Shelterbox. Thank you, Wayne. Now, if you haven't forgotten, I'm not going to let you forget. We still have the Shine Bright Challenge going on through February, so you still have some time. And Ned Morris, he took us up on that. He's going to get some special aid tags. But Glenn Harris jumped on that bandwagon. You can actually see he got Ned to come, brought some wine. They weren't short on wine, had a little wine and cheese event in the house. And because they used that time in the house, they had some wine, they shared Shelterbox, that to Glenn was a Shine for Shelterbox event. So I want to thank these gentlemen for their creativity and making Shine their own and sharing Shelterbox in their home and how many people come to them to hear that story. So thank you. Tom and Marie added again, another group that just hits the road and keeps on going. Here we had them presenting to the Oil City Rotary Club, who last engaged with Shelterbox in 2013. They said that this club is currently kind of in a transition. They've got some newer members. And I am really excited to see how this changing club continues to engage with Shelterbox now that Tom and Marie have them. And a expedition continues out of the canoe, but still telling the story. So Eric Elsey is presenting to the Rotary Club of Cape Coral Sunset, where you can see they presented him with a $1,000 check. And I know Eric is on the line today. I'm gonna see if I can unmute you really quick. And Holly, I see your hand there too. Eric, I'd like to hear what it's like for you now. We're a few months out of the expedition, but we're into the new year. And what is it like continuing to tell the Shelterbox expedition story this many months now in?
Oh, I'm still getting quite a few requests for speaker presentations surrounding the expedition. People are still moved by it and excited about it, and so it's still a really good way to spread the word about the organization and keep the momentum going for Shelterbox into 2019.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate
No
that.
problem.
And Holly, I see your hand raised. Did you want to come off mute just for a moment and add something to that? You're unmuted now.
No, I have nothing to add and didn't know I raised my hand. Sorry.
Okay. Sounds good. I know that you were Eric's partner in crime, so I thought you might have had some expedition thoughts yourself.
Well, no, but since you unmuted me, we do still have the social media pages up, the Instagram, the Facebook, and not exactly sure how we're going to use those in 2019, but I think just promoting the trip and the fact that Eric is willing to speak about it and hopefully get into some pets and stuff. So we're still using those pages, so keep following and sharing.
Yes, and I know many of those that are on today do. So thank you all for continuing to support the expedition in that way. Thank you, Holly. Really quickly, I saw that Lewis gave us just a quick correction for the theme for next year. It's Rotary Connects the World. So anybody that took that note down, just know it's Rotary Connects, not connecting. And that makes sense. We're all one big extended Rotarian family. All right, moving on, I did want to also give a shout out to Frank Spears. Frank too, I mean, he'll load that green box up in his trunk and he'll take it on the road, and he's just done a great job. Here we have two back-to-back meetings, the Fitzgerald Rotary Club and the Glenville Rotary Club. And I happen to know that these are two clubs that haven't engaged with Shelterbox before, so it was great for Frank to go, present, share the Shelterbox story, and plant that seed for future engagement. We're going to hear from Frank a little bit more later, so I'll save that sizzle. So I've already kind of highlighted Bill and Henry here, but I'm going to give a chance for him to speak for himself. I saw he's on the line. Let's see here. Yes, Bill, I see you're here. I'm going to unmute you. I don't know if you have a few words you'd like to add about your time as an ambassador and this experience at the Dine and Dance event, but I'm going to take you off mute here for a moment.
I think we're fortunate that we're in a district that has historically been a good supporter of Shelterbox. So, you know, from that regard, we've had a lot of feedback or interest on the part of the clubs to participate and get presentations and share the box at different events. So, you know, from that aspect, I think we've had a pretty easy go for it. In fact, more people are fighting to get the box, and it's starting to wear out, the tent. So we'll probably need to replace that soon, but that's a different story.
Well, you know what? You're talking to the right person. When that time comes, I can help you out with that.
I know that. And Saucon, you know, had put together this Dine and Dance, and they held it at a country club. And the way they set it up was that to go into the room, you had to pass through the tent. And
yes.
The way they did their fundraising was to have an auction, but rather than to sell stuff, bidders could buy a quarter box, a whole box, a half box. And so it made making the donations a lot more fun than just asking people to sit down and write a check.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear that a lot when it comes to engaging your audience. Have them walk through the tent, have them pick up the brochure, something that gets more than one stimulation going, whether it be tactile with their hands or something that's getting them up on their feet and engaging them. The activity is a great way to captivate the audience. So moving on, and thank you, Bill, for sharing. I appreciate that. And again, when the time comes, let me know and I'll get you a new tent. But for now, I want to move on to different ways that Shelterbox was in the media. And December was actually a good month for us. In fact, the event that Bill and Henry represented Shelterbox for, it actually made it into the local media quite quickly. And there you can see Carrie, Shelterbox USA president there, helping to accept that check. So as Carrie said, and you know, I take these words to heart. At Shelterbox, we are preparing every day for the absolute worst day ever. Your gift is really meaningful and goes a long way. And we cannot exist as an organization without the participation of Rotary. And that is true. And I hope we can all just take a moment to take in that message and use that as our launching pad for 2019. But Peggy had some exciting exposure as well. Well, she helped with introducing this Rotaract Club to Shelterbox. You know, they were doing a fundraiser. They had this little origami. And this origami project, I mean, we're talking intricately folded paper. It raised over $4,000 for Shelterbox. And it was such a great way to hear Peggy kind of plug this in and out throughout the different times that she was working them, because she saw them at different club events too. And Peggy, I know you're on. I'm going to see if you're able to come off mute and talk about this young, excited club that was wanting to raise money for Shelterbox. And it looks like she might be muted and not able to talk at the moment. So you know what? We'll move on, Peggy. And then if there's more time at the end, we'll come back to you. We had Eric Shalla actually get a nice little feature in the Santa Barbara Independent. And it's always great to see Shelterbox in writing, because there are still so many people that don't know about what we're doing. So having our volunteers being featured is a great way to start that conversation. Last month, we got to announce that we had a new Hall of Fame member, Wranglin, and here we have him in the news. The Denton Record Chronicle actually published that. So, and again, more exposure. And I clicked this a little too soon, but we wanted to announce, we have a special announcement. Bill, I'm glad you're on the line, because you and Henry are our ambassadors of the month. You started with us in the summer, and they actually kind of self-appointed themselves the Shelterbox District Duo for the Pennsylvania District 7430. They were both impressed with the work of Shelterbox. The district was already supportive, but they really wanted to take it to the next level. And Henry had already been coordinating the Area 6 mini golf tournament for Shelterbox. We've got that Dine and Dance event that was going, but it's great to have solid representation and that support and that stewardship. So I want to thank you, Bill and Henry, for sharing your passion for Shelterbox. And congratulations on being ambassadors of the month. I'll take you off mute one more time, see if you have anything else you have to add. A little short acceptance speech, if you will.
Well, I have to admit that the reason I became an ambassador was because the incoming district governor, Cindy Horniman, promised to buy me a drink if I said yes.
Well, that may have been how you got on, but I've seen you do a lot of work since then, and I know that it's not just about that incentive, I'm sure. But nice backstory. Peggy, I did see, sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Peggy, I saw your question regarding Bill Tobin's email, and he does have a Shelterbox email. We'll make sure to get that out for everybody. Keeping on with the agenda, though, I want to introduce Frank the Sizzle Spears, and we're going to find out why we call him Frank the Sizzle Spears here in just a moment. So, Frank, I'm going to take you off mute. You're our special guest today, and you can see that Frank is a Shelterbox ambassador. He is a past president of the Augusta West Rotary Club, and you can see his many accomplishments, and one of his favorites is, though, being a grandpa and husband to wife Jeannie. So, Frank, I'll let you continue from here, and I just want to thank you for being on today.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Do you have me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep, thank you.
I see the mic moving. First of all, what a great honor to be asked to speak to the choir, and got a little bit of a cold and sore throat, so hard to apologize. And the reason I got a cold and a sore throat is I'm talking too much Shelterbox out last week, then I'm headed out Wednesday again, and it has just been an amazing journey. Only since April, jumped right into the SAFE training, and that's kind of where the sizzle started. And I think just very briefly, what I want to talk to you about is passion, prospecting, and presentations. Passion, prospecting, and presentations. 3 points. So first of all, and I know you've got some slides. I
do, Frank. I'm going to prompt you here, and I would like to know on that presentation piece about how you've prioritized presentation. Like, how did you plan your outreach? You've got a lot of ground to cover.
Right, and I'm tilling some ground here in Georgia, especially my area. Totally, lots of crops have got to be planted. Georgia really doesn't have a very active ambassador system. There's just very few of us, and I'm trying to connect with some of them, and most of them are invisible. So what I've tried to do is to focus on my particular district, 6920, and that's what kind of I say is the prospecting. And so the prospecting is what I did in the very beginning was that I made a list of all of the president-elects. I then sent them an intro letter on Shelterbox stationery, and then I called them, and then I called them again, and then I called them again. And I tried to line up about 15 speaking engagements at clubs that I knew would be interested, in clubs that whereas there's probably a little bit of sizzle there, and sizzle is equal to passion, passion is equal to cash. So I was hoping to hit a few that we could hit pretty hard. And, it's worked fairly well. It's really taking off extremely well now. And so prioritizing those by looking at the places that are large enough to see you and also small enough to accept you, and try to find a way to get in there via the president-elects.
That's kind of a good segue. So I hear that you took a look at what the potential was. You tried to make a priority of where you thought the best bang for the buck was, putting that into my words. But then how did you go about securing presentations? We see the pictures. You seem so successful and getting in front of those audiences. So I was wondering, what's your secret?
Well, I don't know if there's any gigantic magic bullet, but securing the presentations can be, and as I like to say too, no pressure. If you try to pressure, it's not going to work. You just have to offer. But I think it's the continual calling of the individuals to make the difference. But now what I've learned, and I've learned this over the last 30 days, is that I am asking when I make a presentation to a club, I'm now looking for referrals from that club to another club in the area. And i.e. last week, when I was in Fitzgerald and Glenville, Georgia, I did just that and just latched a hold of some individuals that knew all the clubs in South Georgia fairly well. And bam, they got on the phone, got on the email, and they've secured me 6 more presentations just by their phone calls, whereas I couldn't do it whatsoever. So I say to you, referrals from individuals after you make the presentation is a great approach.
That makes sense. Word of mouth and knowing that you're a quality presentation, I think goes a long way. So hearing how you kind of built it up, prioritizing, how you made the ask, and then, what's something that you always include? What do you always do in that prep and in that presentation?
Well, I think the number one thing to do is, and I think you've got some slides of what we're talking about next, is that I first send an information sheet. I got this from one of the clubs, so as soon as I make contact with that club to speak, I want them to know that they're going to get a professional presentation from somebody that's very serious. So bam, I've got this just sitting in my Word documents. I type in the name of the program, type in the location of the program, push the button, bam, send it to them. So they've got all the information right after I talk to them. So they know they've got a quality program coming their way. And this kind of sets the stage. I include a photo of myself because I think a lot of clubs use those photos in their bulletins and different situations. And that kind of makes it even more professional. So I think we got one more slide coming up about the actual presentation.
We do. Yeah, once you get there, you have something unique, and I'd love for you to tell the group about it.
Right. Well, and I must say, I have to give lots of credit to my wife of 41 years. She listened to the first 5 or 6 of these things, and she said, we got to do better. And I said, well, I think they're fantastic. She says, Frank, we got to do better. So, an honest person will tell you the truth every single time if they love you. So she said, we've got to kind of take this and put it in a book. So we went and got a 3-ring binder, and we put the entire presentation, rewrote it, and made it a little bit more gliding to the slides. We took some of the slides out, readjusted some of the slides. So we took and tailored this presentation that you had on the portal to our likings, and we put it in a binder, and the binder is in plastic sleeves so you can't mess the pages up. So every single location I just jump out, have my binder with me. I have a bio that I really think is very important for you to have, and I put the bio on the speaker area where the president can see it. And I like to be introduced with this bio because it talks about my connection to Rotary, and when they feel like you're part of them, they'll buy in even further. So I've noticed the bio, and that's in a plastic sleeve. No iced tea is going to get on it. Put it back in the folder. So this little gimmick of keeping everything in a folder for this presentation and moving it quickly has really helped me.
Well, that's great. And now you've already mentioned it, but I think it's so important. And I'd really like you to just reiterate one more time, what is this sizzle we keep talking about?
What is this sizzle we keep talking about? Well, I start off every single presentation by standing in front of the entire audience and say, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to get enthusiastic about what we're about to hear. And I say it is, the selfie above service, or service above selfie. You can call it anything you want. I take a picture of the audience and kind of get them fired up with me, and I love to do that. And then I post it obviously on the portal, or just keep it in my files. But I was at the SAFE program. At the very end of the SAFE program, we were all asked to sum up the week. And I was pretty much speechless as far as the experience that happened that particular week. And for those of you that have been on the Safe Trail, you know what I'm talking about. And I went to the handlers at the time. I think it was Sarah was up in the front. And I said, you know, Sarah, I can sell the steak, but I have to have the sizzle. People don't want, you know, a steak without some sizzle. The sizzle is the passion. So when you find the passion, the sizzle, you know, that's what you want to sell. You don't want to sell the steak, you want to sell the sizzle, which is the passion. And once people realize that you've got a passion for this organization, it's going to be very contagious. And I saw this exactly to the point when I was in Brunswick, Georgia, a few presentations back. And the president of the club introduced me and she said, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this guy cares about what he's doing. I've talked to him 3 or 4 times. She said he really cares. And she said, what's even more important, he's here paying his own way, his own mileage, his own hotel bill. If this guy cares enough and has enough passion about this, we need to care enough to give $1,000. So it, you know, the sizzle is the passion. And if you can't catch that sizzle, ladies and gentlemen, go play golf.
You've heard it there from Frank Spears. And I just want to say, Frank, we've gotten some immediate feedback. Excellent tips. People love it. They're loving the sizzle. And, you know, people are wanting a copy of that speaker information sheet, which I have a copy of. Are you okay with us sending that out to your peers?
Absolutely. Every single thing I have belongs to everybody. And the more we work together, the more sizzle we're going to have. And the more sizzle just makes me just so, so happy. I leave you with one thought. It's always good to ask for the sale during the presentation. The sale is the donation. So you always want to make that donation ask. But what I've discovered is don't pressure, just ask. But always make the ask. Don't be embarrassed to make the ask. Because like I tell people constantly, the people that are out there in that cyclone, in that tsunami, they can't ask. But I can do the asking and you can do the responding. And I so thank you, Sarah, for this opportunity to give a little bit of sizzle for a beautiful day here.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for being on today. And Sarah, with that, let's talk about how we can now share our sizzle with Rotary.
Yes, definitely. So because I am in San Diego, I just wanted to introduce to this team, for those who've not yet met her, Alex Yulton, who's our Rotary Partnerships Manager. And so she works for Shelterbox for our headquarters in the UK, but makes sure that we have a strong relationship with Rotary International and with their leadership, and that we're working in tandem to further both of our missions. And so it's not often that we have Alex over on this side of the pond, so she agreed just to hop on for a few minutes today and share thoughts around Rotary and our partnership. And then we also wanted to introduce something exciting, which is our new district challenge. So welcome, Alex.
Thanks very much, Sarah. And hi, everybody. It's a real privilege to actually be able to take part in this. I am inspired every day by you. I've been allowed to stalk you on your Shelterbox USA Facebook page, and I am blown away every single day by the community that you are, how you support each other, and the incredible things that you do. And so it is a real privilege to be here with you today. So thank you. And as Sarah said, yeah, I am the Rotary Partnerships Manager. When I first joined Shelterbox, that was when I first learned about this thing called Rotary, because after sort of 16 years in the British Army, I was aware there was a thing called Rotary, but I didn't know anything more than there was a thing called Rotary. And then obviously when you tell the Shelterbox story, you learn about Rotary. And the more I heard, the more I liked, and the more inspired I was. And I'm not deliberately using the current theme, but genuinely was inspired. And the more I saw about Shelterbox, the organisation, and Rotary, the organisation, the more I became, and to use your words, Frank, that passionate about the real potential and the impact that the two organisations have made, but more to the point, can make and should be making. And sort of basically kept going on about this. So essentially they created this Rotary Partnerships role to be the focus and to liaise closely with RI leadership and staff in Evanston to make sure that we're really harnessing the true potential that there is out there. And I believe so passionately about it because I saw firsthand years ago when I was in the army in Kosovo, aid agencies coming in when the official ceasefire and peacekeeping was happening, and hundreds of agencies flooded into the country, and I saw some good stuff and I saw some really not constructive stuff, and I became quite cynical about aid agencies, and realized that no matter how big or good an agency is, it's only as good as the people on the ground and the passion and commitment to learning from the experts, the families living through it. And that's why I work for Shelterbox, because I genuinely see that, and of course the partnership that we have with Rotary makes that even more impactful and gives us that edge of really not going in and patronizing local communities, but through Rotary connections, learning about Rotary communities. And so, yeah, essentially, Sarah's just said, and Lewis quite rightly sort of pointing out, it's the next theme is Rotary connecting the world. Well, that is what we do, and not only do we connect the world, so between donors with the families that have been affected by disaster, but we also help Rotary connect with Rotary, and one of the things that it's our responsibility to do is inspire the current membership and the future membership of the impact of the partnership. And the Shelterbox story is an inspiration to the next generation and to new members out there who don't realize it yet, but they want to join Rotary because of what Shelterbox does. And we're really excited to be working really closely with RI, Rotary International staff and leadership to capture and present what it is we do, so that we are inspiring the next generation, because it's because of the inspiration that has helped Shelterbox grow. Rotary got inspired, got behind it, and have helped Shelterbox grow. But there is so much more to be done. So we've got to continue inspiring and bringing the new stories. And I think sort of the privilege that we all have is that we're part of this organisation. And I heard one of our response team say it at a conference one time. He, at that end, are the ones that find themselves being thanked by the families, and they always get sort of sometimes quite embarrassed by this, because they feel, as he says, they understand that they're only part of this huge cog and all these cogs that are happening to make it happen. And so he realizes that it's their responsibility to retain those thanks, and then when presenting to a Rotary club or to donors, to pass on the thanks from the people that can't be there in that room with those donors and those supporters, but to pass on those thanks and to inspire them going forward.
Yes, and so what we're doing here in San Diego this week is we're meeting with district governors-elect, and so one of the opportunities we have, Alex, is to show a film that you worked on. Do you mind sharing with the group about what that is and about the district challenge?
Yes, President-elect Mark Maloney very kindly has given us the opportunity to have a film played at one of the general sessions to all the district governors-elect, and so we have made it about inspiring Rotary around the world, whether they want to get in, support Shelterbox through awareness and fundraising or through practical assistance in the field. And we will be able to share that film with you. We're still waiting for confirmation of which day it's actually going to be played this week. As soon as we know, we'll let you all know. And as part of that, we've managed to, rather than it be Shelterbox telling Rotary, we've managed to get Rotarians to tell Rotary. So we have a district governor in Canada giving her reasons why she is passionate about Shelterbox. And then we have a deputy district governor in the Philippines who worked really closely with our teams in response to the disasters last year, and in particular with the project in Biliran Island and the brilliant collaboration that took place there that has really set that community up for recovery, thanks to Shelterbox's early intervention, which kept the community together, which then enabled the local Rotary to put the next project and get it up and running and put it in place. So it's Rotarians telling fellow district governors why this is an important thing. And the exciting thing is we're then launching at the end of it and introducing this action toolkit, which is something we've been working together with Rotary International, and we'll be able to share the links with you all. It's brand new, this is hot off the press, and it's an idea, it's a one-stop shop for Rotarians around the world who want to find out how they can get involved. As part of that, we often get questions by district governors elect when they're planning their year. What can my district do? What can we do? So we have we've come up with the district challenge. And the idea is that district governors-elect can challenge all the clubs in their district to pledge to support Shelterbox in some way throughout that year. We've deliberately left it slightly vague in terms of, rather than a specific monetary value, because A, we don't want to set a ceiling unintentionally, and B, for the smaller clubs, we don't want to put them off. So we want to make it as encouraging and inclusive as possible. So that could be a club deciding that they're going to go and give a talk to a local youth group or school, or holding a fundraiser, or donating the equivalent of a box or 2 boxes, or pledging to join up to the Hero program. And the idea is that if every club in the district pledges to do it and then does it, we will then work up recognition both on our website and at International Assembly and at convention to showcase this and show the impact of the partnership. And also the information shows different ways that clubs can do this and give support Shelterbox.
Yes, so we'll be adding an outline of this program to the Ambassador portal, and also keep an eye out for the Ambassador newsletter this week that will contain more information on the district challenge. But again, if you have some folks you think might be excited about this, let us know, and I know Bill will be eager to get them started with your help. We also wanted to talk about a special opportunity. We will be hosting a special Shelterbox reception for the district governors-elect on Wednesday evening. And so if your district governor-elect would like to stop by and learn more about Rotary, we'll be joined by Ishun, who's one of our Shelterbox response team members, to talk about her time in the field. And then we'll have all of our Shelterbox volunteers and staff who are here with us this week there to answer questions and to share more about what it is that we do. So we'll send out an email with the room for that location. The hotel can't give it to us until the day of, but as soon as we get that information, we'll be sure to share it with you, in the hopes that you could reach out to your district governor-elect and just urge them to come by and see us so that we can send them back into your district excited and ready to get started in this next Rotary year that we have coming up. So then, thank you, Alex. Appreciate all your hard work throughout the year, and also you being here with us this week. We do have some information we wanted to share then. I loved how Frank gave such practical information around, keeping a binder and writing up notes from every presentation and that sort of thing. We have some similarly practical information here on the next slide, which are just some things you can do as we start this new year. So some of the things you may want to be doing right now is thanking any donors that we received from Rotary in the past year. The Rotary year is still going on, but I know many people set resolutions in January, and so these are just some resolutions that we can do together as an ambassador team. Another would be by reaching out to those who can help us get either a presentation scheduled, like Frank mentioned, or who still might want to give a donation this year because they haven't yet this Rotary year. It's also the perfect time to set up to have a booth or a breakout session, or even show our Rotary partnership video at your upcoming PETS conference or district conference. These are great times to talk to 60 or sometimes 120 Rotary clubs all at once. So rather than having to always go club to club, it's a great way to capture many people's imagination at the same time. We also rolled out last year, and it's on the portal, and we'll be sharing where to find that today, but essentially the Rotary planning tool, which really helps you to map out your entire year in terms of goals and what clubs we plan to interact with, and then also who we could get as hero clubs and that sort of thing. And so it really provides a great template for planning out your whole year. And so if you've not used or seen that tool yet, I'd encourage you to do so. And then, as Frank mentioned, kind of spread the passion and keep it fun. For those ambassadors who are not part of a Rotary club, there are some other activities you can do, and of course these are available to anybody, but again, just thanking top donors. Hosting a fundraiser on Facebook. Sheree mentioned Eric Shala earlier. He did a year-end fundraiser that raised over $1,000. So just by gathering $20 at a time from friends, it can make a huge impact. And the fundraisers are easy to set up. It's simple to get started. And then you just sort of add a story, and then Facebook does a lot of the work for you in presenting to your friends this opportunity. And so if you've not ever tried that before or need some extra help, let us know. We even have a video on the portal that walks you through in 4 minutes how to get one set up and going on your own. It's also a great time at the beginning of the year to plan any events you might want to do in your community. So whether it's an off the grid or a Shine for Shelter box, we have lots of great templates for events that you can invite friends and family into. And then looking to arrange presentations for the coming year. So whether it's churches or businesses or service organizations you want to get in front of, we also have community foundations throughout the country who connect donors with worthy organizations. And again, they're great people to be able to talk to. And if you need help getting started with any of these groups, please let us know. And Sri and I would love to help.
Thank you, Sarah. And you mentioned a few times the ambassador portal. So today I want to take a few minutes to kind of walk through navigating some of the basics of the ambassador portal. You know, when you go to the website, and it's down here, and we send out the live hot link many times, but SB Shelterbox, so sbambassador.org, we're going to be brought to this screen. You enter your credentials, and it's whatever the last thing either I've set up for you or a password you've set up. And if you don't know your password, you can just email me and I can reset it for you if you ever have any trouble logging in. But this is the first screen that you'll see. You'll log in, and then you're going to see the home page. So this is the interface. After you've logged in, you see our logo. You're going to see this, actually the Shelterbox Ambassador portal. If ever you're clicking around and you don't remember where you were and you want to get back home, click those 3 words, Shelterbox Ambassador portal, to be taken back to the home screen. When you're on the home screen, that is the channel to featured posts. That's where you want to be to see those things like major disaster events. You're going to see the Rotary Planner on here, the current deployment operations map. So when you scroll down, you'll find our featured posts. So here are some examples. This is actually, if you were to go to the portal today, this is what you would see if you were scrolling down. And then you would click on this. This is basically a link to a blog post, to an individual post. You click on that to open up that specific page. So if you click on the updated deployment brief, you'll be brought to this map. There's a little bit more text involved, but when you get to the blog post and you open this up, you're able to save this picture and use it in your presentations if you wish. If you click on the link that says Shelterbox Rotary Year Planning, and you're taken to that page, you're going to be brought to this tool. So this is a screenshot of an image. It's not the full tool. You'll be taken to the page where you can download the tool. But this is what Sarah's been referencing. And it's something we're really encouraging as we developed this last year and see the potential for it to be an amazing tool. You can see we have the calendar laid out by Rotary Year and the key events that you would want to be a part of. Down here's a little bit of a guide as to how to fill this out, if, you know, as you're thinking big picture for the Rotary Year. And there's a few other pages in here, but really this Rotary calendar is probably going to be one of your key outline tools to help you plan your time dedicating Shelterbox to Rotary. So kind of going back to that home screen, looking a little bit more at the portal to show you what leads where. So here we have the different menu options. Each one of these is its own little menu link, and they have their own individual drop downs. So here's where you would submit a supply order. Here's the link to our Shelterbox store. And then here we have where you would submit your activity reports. But the 2 menu items that I want to draw your attention to today are Ambassadors Your Role and Ambassadors Your Tools. If you're on Facebook, you see me referencing these areas quite a bit. So under the Ambassadors Your Role, you'll find our handbook, which is recently updated, and it has the decision to deploy content now added. It has the links directly in the handbook for the Facebook fundraising video. A lot of new content refreshed to be more relevant in 2019. The Volunteer Code of Conduct is updated, but it's taken directly out of the volunteer handbook. So nothing too crazy there, just a little refresh to reflect what's in the handbook. You'll notice there, though, on that 3rd item, that's where our monthly webinar and scheduled recordings are. So we do post them on Facebook. We do send them out, usually in the newsletter, but you can always access the most recent and past, the whole archive of our webinars there, and usually the resources that were mentioned, the PowerPoint decks for different slides you might want, it's all referenced there under the monthly webinar schedule recordings. You'll notice the star there indicating new content because there is always new content there. So here's a little preview of the volunteer handbook. And I wanted to show you this preview because you may not know it contains all of these goodies. So we have fundraising campaign that's been updated, decision to deploy criteria has been updated. There may be a few little tweaks here and there along the way in those other pages. And when you download this bad boy, it might look like a lot, but actually this table of contents is hyperlinked to the rest of the book. So it's easy to navigate around. Moving forward, though, let's go to Ambassadors, your tools, because these are your tools, and these are the things that you want to get your hands on most often. So I moved some of the menu items to be more accessible or to make more sense. So we have the first tool listed is the Ambassador Council. If you didn't already know, we have a group of ambassador volunteers who act kind of as your voice. So if you don't know who your ambassador, excuse me, your ambassador council member is, your area lead, let me know. I'd love to introduce you because they're just another resource for you, another tool that you can use to bounce ideas off of or to help you manage your area. We have the ambassador calendar, and if you haven't gone there, you should. I know the Pacific Northwest is really working to fill things in, but you will see our calls on here, our monthly calls. You will see you can plan district events, pets. You can put specific things on this calendar so you and other team members can see and help plan, make sure there's no overlap. You know who's going to be where, when. The ambassador map is something I update monthly. So I'm going to take a little bit of time today. I'll show you a screenshot of that map. But on this map, I have plotted all of our ambassadors. I've plotted who we believe has the traditional demo kit, who we believe has just a mini box, who we believe has no equipment at all, has our ambassador councils plotted on there, and it has our liaisons. You're able to see a live screenshot of where everybody's at. It helps you connect with people in your area, but it also helps you understand the coverage, the span, and where our gaps are, and help you maybe prioritize when you're making an ask in a presentation to include, join me, let's do this together so we can have more team members. Okay, something that I really want you to show or want you to know, and I'm going to show you more about today, but something you just need to go to the portal about following this call, sample presentations and the ShelterBox 101 PowerPoint. So I've recently uploaded myself 2 different presentations I've done. I uploaded a sample presentation Sarah did. It is exactly the presentation we did for these audiences, but it's something that you can see and how it varies from the ShelterBox 101 presentation. So go to sample presentations to see some updated content there. But please, if you can, and if you're struggling for a new and refreshed content for your own presentations, use the ShelterBox 101 PowerPoint, just published this year, just last week. And it's got some refreshed slides, obviously, and the decision to deploy criteria is in there, but it's at the end, so you can have it available for Q&A if your presentation's running maybe a little bit long. But the outline is there, the template's there. You are welcome to use these presentations as you wish, pull from it what you will, and speak to what makes you passionate about ShelterBox. But we just want to provide these tools to give you that starting equipment to start your toolbox of success. Now, going back to that map, if you were to click on the ambassador map, this is what you would see. And mind you, some of these gray dots might be updated now. This is a plotting of where our volunteers are. But now let's go to that PowerPoint. So that's really why I'm doing this navigation segment right now. So when you click on ShelterBox 101 PowerPoint 2019 in that menu item, you're going to be brought to this page. This picture hasn't changed, but the links have. So this will take you to the option to download. Here's a script that accompanies it, so you don't have to memorize the content on the script, content on the PowerPoint. But then I've also added some suggestions and tips, things you've probably seen me post on Facebook if you're ever on the ambassador group. But this is a launching point, right? It's a beginning template. And what I want to say is we hope that you have a couple presentation templates ready. You have the 101 for those who are new to us. From there, we hope that you can use that same PowerPoint, modify it a little bit to do just a shelter box update for those who already know who we are. Maybe they don't need the whole comprehensive presentation. And then we have the thank you and recognition. There will be those that are giving to us all the time, and we want to thank them, and that's the purpose of the presentation. All right, so moving on, that is the portal. If you ever have any problems with the portal, have questions about what I presented with you today, go ahead and contact me. I'm here to help you. And Sarah, I'll toss it back to you.
Perfect. I've just seen a few questions come in and want to make sure that we are getting to them. So, Frank, we had a lot of positive comments from your great tips. People really appreciate them. And also they said, don't be a hater about playing golf, Frank. So, but thank you for the tips that you shared. And as Cherie mentioned, we've had some requests for the materials to be shared. So we'll make sure we get that out to this whole team. Also, we had a question around knowing which clubs needed to renew their hero status. If you ever at any point in time would like to see club giving for your area, or to know either how much a club is given over time, or if they're a lapsed hero club, for example, please just let Cherie know, and she would be happy to get you that information so that you're walking into your presentations informed and also understanding your area that you service. We wanted to just also take a moment to plug a really exciting experience, and that's our Shelter Box Ambassador Field experience. For those who haven't been, it's an immersive experience where we really work to put you into the shoes of our SRTs, so those response team members who travel the world on our behalf to reach these last mile communities and to help the most vulnerable following a disaster. You would go through a simulation of one of these disasters and understand better the factors that go into how we deploy and when, and how we also work to decide which family gets aid when we always have limitations in terms of how much we can give. It really helps to give you an understanding of how we operate and also those we serve. So we wanted to invite you. It starts on a Friday, April 5th, and ends on a Sunday, April 7th. People fly into Austin, Texas, and then we would drive you out to a ranch that's donated by Tim Osborne, who's one of our great ambassadors, and we have volunteers pick you up. We cover, lodging and meals. By lodging, I mean we get to sleep together in the shelter box tents, but even that's a cool experience in itself. I remember the year I did it, it was hailing outside and there were horrible storms, and it stayed totally dry inside of our tent and provided great shelter. So we just wanted to really invite you and extend this as an opportunity if you've not yet been. It's a great time to meet your fellow ambassadors from across the country and actually get to really experience a lot of what it is that we do. Bill, I know you're a fan of SAFE. Anything you wanted to add?
I'll just add, and some of you will get this and some of you won't, there's always time for pants. No, it's a great, there is no volunteer training experience anywhere else that's like SAFE. Not only will you hone your presentation skills and get some great stories from the field, but you'll meet some great people who will turn out to be lifelong friends, because my SAFE group, we still communicate. And then once you go through it, you get to go back and be on the other side, and you get to kind of play some roles and have some fun along the way. But it's a truly a full immersion into a slightly tongue-in-cheek team building exercise that surrounds what Shelter Box does.
Perfect. Thank you, Bill. Yep. So you can go to shelterboxusa.org/safe to sign up today, and there will be also information in the newsletter we send out this week. In terms of current deployments, I know we're winding down on our time here, but we do have a team currently deployed to the Philippines. We continue to respond to a series of tropical storms there, and so one of our new U.S. SRTs who joined us last year, Nathan Heath, is with the team out there in the Philippines. But if you would like more information on everywhere we're currently deployed, you can visit shelterboxusa.org facebook.com/news, or I also urge you to check in with our Facebook updates, which happen every Tuesday, and which we share on the Ambassador Facebook page as well. So if you've not yet seen one of those, it's a good little brief kind of walkthrough for 10 minutes each week of where we're operating and any challenges we might be facing. Equipment highlights. The team really does a great job of building a lot of different pieces of information into those live updates. So I'd encourage you to watch if you've not got those on your list. So, and then with that, we're happy to take any more questions people might have. Feel free to type them in the chat box. But we did truly want to thank you. You know, seeing that $1.1 million number is incredibly impressive, but knowing how many families those dollars can actually serve is the part that I think moves so many of us. And being at a large Rotary meeting like this, you meet so many district governors and leaders who were part of our responses and whose communities benefited from those dollars that you've worked so hard to raise. And so on behalf of those groups, we wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add that it's at these global Rotary events where the true impact really comes home, because we have district governors and district governors-elect come to us and say, "You," to quote one gentleman, "you brought my community back to life." And it's those tales from first-hand accounts that really drive us all forward and do everything that you do, so make it so important. And thank you so much.
So thank you, everybody. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or need more information, or if you want to welcome Bill to the team. I know he likes chatting about what it is that he does and sharing his sizzle. So thanks to Frank and everyone who could be a guest today, to Alex as well. And we'll look forward to talking to you next month. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.